Ever toss these? Let's turn them into endless green onions.
It is a Tuesday evening in March. You come home from the grocery store with a bunch of celery, a cluster of green onions, and a head of romaine lettuce. You pull off what you need for dinner, and then you do what every person in this country does without thinking twice. You take the roots, the base, the leafy stumps, and you drop them straight into the trash. Maybe the compost if you are the kind of person who keeps one. And then you wash your hands and start cooking and never think about it again. That is what I did for years, every single week. A bunch of green onions, use the tops, toss the roots. A head of romaine, pull the leaves, throw away the base. Celery stalks for the soup, the bottom of the bunch straight into the bin. Week after week, year after year, without a second thought. Because that is what you do. That is what everyone does. That is what the grocery store is counting on you to do.
Imagine never buying green onions again. It's that easy.
Then, one afternoon, I was watching a video on my phone, the kind that starts playing before you even choose it, and there was a man showing a mason jar sitting on his kitchen windowsill. Inside that jar, in about an inch of plain tap water, was the white root end of a green onion. Just the part most people throw away without looking at it, and coming up out of it, bright and straight and green, were new shoots, tall ones. He said he had been cutting from that same little root for 3 weeks running. Never bought green onions again that month. He just kept cutting and the thing kept growing, and every few days he had a fresh bunch ready to go, right there on his windowsill. I sat with that for a minute. Because what that video was really saying, underneath the green onion and the mason jar and the windowsill, was something I had not let myself think about before. The grocery store sells you a living plant. Not a bag of chips, not a can of soup, but an actual living plant with a root system that is still alive when it hits your kitchen counter. And the moment you buy it and bring it home, you already have everything you need to grow more of it. You paid for it. It is sitting on your counter. And you are about to throw the best part of it in the trash. I want you to sit with that. Every bunch of green onions you have ever bought and used and tossed, every celery base, every romaine stump, every head of garlic that started sprouting in the back of the pantry, every piece of ginger with a little green nub pushing up from the skin, all of it living, all of it capable of growing again, all of it going straight into the bin because nobody ever told you it did not have to.
You'd be surprised what these scraps can become.
So I decided to find out exactly what was true and what was overhyped. Because the internet will tell you that you can regrow anything. Pineapples from the top, avocados from the pit, a full tomato plant from a grocery store, tomato slice. Some of that is true. Some of it takes 8 months in a greenhouse and a level of patience most people do not have on a Tuesday evening after work. I wanted to know what actually worked in a normal kitchen, on a normal windowsill, for a normal person who does not have a garden or a greenhouse or a single spare hour in the week. So I picked 7 vegetables. 7 things you can buy at any grocery store in this country for a few dollars. I tried to regrow all 7 of them from the scraps, the parts you were about to throw away. I gave each one fair conditions, a windowsill with decent light, water when it needed water, soil when the instructions said soil. I watched them for weeks, and I kept notes on what happened. Some of them worked so well it was almost embarrassing. Like, why did nobody tell me this before embarrassing? One of them grew so fast I had fresh food on my counter inside 4 days. 4 days from trash to table. Some of them failed completely. And I am going to tell you exactly why they failed and what I did wrong, and what the internet tutorials leave out when they make it look easy. And a couple of them surprised me in ways I did not expect. Results that were not quite a full success and not quite a failure, but something in between that taught me something useful anyway. Here is what I found.
Let's see which veggies really thrive in a simple kitchen.
Before I get into the results, I want to be clear about something. I am not a farmer. I do not have a greenhouse out back, or a raised bed garden or a compost system that has been running for 20 years. I have a kitchen. I have a windowsill that gets decent afternoon light. I have tap water and a few mason jars and some basic potting soil I picked up at the hardware store for $4. Everything I'm about to show you was done under those conditions. Ordinary apartment conditions. Which means if it worked for me, it will work for you. Here are the 4 vegetables that actually worked. The first one is green onions, and this one is not even a fair fight. Green onions are the easiest regrow in the entire produce section, and it is not close. Take the white root end of any bunch of green onions, the part with the little roots hanging off the bottom, and set it in a glass of water on your windowsill. Root end down, cut end up. Make sure the roots are submerged but the cut tops are above the water line. Change the water every 2 days so it does not go stagnant. That is the whole method. There is nothing else to do. By day 2, you will see new green growth pushing up from the cut ends. By day 4, you will have shoots long enough to cut and use in cooking. By day 7, the thing looks like a full bunch of green onions sitting in a glass on your windowsill. I cut from mine 3 times over the course of 2 weeks before the roots started to weaken and the regrowth slowed down. 3 harvests from something I was about to throw in the trash.
3 harvests from the trash? That's a win in my book.
The flavor is identical to what you buy at the store. Fresh, sharp, exactly right. If you do nothing else from this video, do this one. Put your next green onion roots in a glass of water tonight. You will be cutting fresh onion tops in 4 days, and you will feel like you discovered something. The second one is celery, and this one takes a little longer, but the result is worth it. Cut the base off your celery bunch, the bottom 2 inches or so, and set it cut side up in a shallow dish with just enough water to cover the bottom of the base without submerging the whole thing. Put it somewhere with good light. Within a week, you will see small pale yellow leaves beginning to push up from the center of the base. Within 2 weeks, those leaves will be green and growing fast. At that point, you can either keep it in water and harvest the tender inner leaves as they come, which works fine, or transfer it to a pot of soil and let it grow into a fuller plant. I transferred mine to soil at the 2-week mark, and within a month I had a small but real celery plant growing on my kitchen counter, producing fresh leaves I used for soups and salads all through April. The stalks you regrow this way are thinner than store-bought, I will be honest with you about that, but the flavor is stronger and the leaves are excellent. The third one is romaine lettuce, and this one surprised me with how fast it moved. Cut the base off your romaine head, about 2 inches from the bottom, and set it in a shallow dish of water, the same way you did with the celery. Change the water every couple of days. Within a week, you will have new leaves pushing up from the center of the stump. They grow quickly once they start. The leaves you get are smaller and more tender than full store-bought romaine, more like the inner heart leaves, and they are genuinely good. I harvested enough over 3 weeks to add to sandwiches and top a few bowls. It is not going to replace your weekly produce run entirely.
Fresh lettuce from scraps? It's like magic on your counter.
But it is fresh lettuce growing on your counter from something you paid for and were about to throw away, and that is worth something. The fourth one is garlic, and this one works differently from the others. If you have ever left a head of garlic in the back of your pantry and come back to find green shoots pushing up through the papery skin, you already know that garlic wants to grow. It does not need your permission. Take any clove that has already started to sprout, or plant an unpeeled clove about 1 inch deep in a small pot of soil with the pointed end up. Water it lightly and put it in a sunny spot. Within 2 weeks, you will have garlic greens, long, flat green shoots that taste like a mild garlicky chive. You can cut those greens and use them exactly like you would use chives or green onions. The flavor is softer than a raw garlic clove, but unmistakably garlic. I used mine chopped fine over eggs and pasta for weeks. If you leave the clove long enough and have a big enough pot, it will eventually produce a full new head of garlic underground, but that takes months. The greens alone are worth doing it for. Fresh garlic flavor from a clove that was already sprouting in your pantry and headed for the compost anyway.
These garlic greens, perfect for topping your morning eggs.
Those are the 4 that worked. 2 of them produced results so fast it still seems almost unreasonable. One of them kept giving for a full month. And one of them is growing on my counter right now as I write this, still going, still producing, from a clove I planted in February. Now I'm going to tell you about the ones that did not work. And I want to be honest with you here in a way that most of these videos are not, because the internet has a strong financial interest in making regrowing vegetables look like a clean, easy, universally successful project. The tutorials are filmed in beautiful kitchens with perfect light. They cut from the planting to the result without showing you the 2 weeks of nothing in between, or the moment where the whole thing goes soft and starts to smell. You realize you've been checking on a rotting stump every morning for 10 days, waiting for a miracle that is not coming. Here is what actually failed and why. The first failure was avocado. I know everyone online has done the avocado pit in a glass of water with toothpicks holding it up. I know the photos look great and it seems like it should work, because the pit is enormous and full of energy and practically wants to grow. I tried it twice. The first pit sat in the water for 5 weeks. It grew a small crack down the center and then went moldy. That was the end of it. The second one actually sprouted. A little white root came down into the water around week 4. I felt like I had done something right. Then it sat there for another 3 weeks, producing nothing further. I changed the water and waited. Then it went soft. I threw it out in week 8. The honest truth about avocado is that even when it works, and it does sometimes work, you are looking at months before you have a seedling of any real size. Years before you have a plant that produces fruit. The variety of avocado you grow from a Hass pit is not guaranteed to produce Hass avocados. The grocery store avocados are grown from grafted trees. The pit is essentially a different plant. What you get from regrowing it is a house plant and a slow-growing one. Nobody in the YouTube thumbnails tells you that part. The second failure was bell pepper. I planted seeds scraped from the inside of a red bell pepper directly into potting soil in a small container. Bell pepper seeds are supposed to be viable. They are seeds. Seeds grow. Except grocery store bell peppers are often picked before the seeds are fully mature. The seeds have sometimes been treated or stored in ways that reduce germination rates. Bell peppers need warmth and consistent moisture and a longer growing season than most people expect. I got 2 seedlings out of maybe 30 seeds. Both of them grew to about 3 inches tall over the course of a month. Then stalled completely, went pale, and eventually gave up. I think the light on my windowsill was not strong enough. The soil dried out a few times when I got busy and forgot to water. Bell pepper is not impossible to regrow from grocery store seed, but it is a project that needs real grow lights, real heat, real consistency, and several months of commitment before you see anything edible. It is not a Tuesday evening windowsill project.
Not every seed is a winner. But that's part of the fun.
Do not let anyone tell you it is. The third failure was ginger, and this one stings a little because I was excited about it. Grocery store ginger does sometimes regrow. I have seen it happen in other people's kitchens. You take a piece of fresh ginger with a visible growth bud, one of those little knobby ends that looks like it wants to do something. You plant it just below the surface of moist potting soil in a warm spot out of direct sun. I planted 3 pieces. One of them showed a tiny green shoot after 3 weeks. I got genuinely excited about it. Then nothing further happened for 2 more weeks. Then the shoot yellowed. The whole piece of ginger slowly dehydrated in the soil despite my watering it. That was that. The other two pieces never showed any activity at all. The problem with grocery store ginger is that it is often treated with a growth inhibitor before it ships. This chemical keeps it from sprouting on the shelf. That is exactly what you need it to do when you are trying to regrow it at home. You can soak the ginger in water overnight before planting to try to wash some of that inhibitor off. It helps, but it does not always overcome the treatment entirely. Organic ginger from a farmer's market or a natural grocery store works significantly better. It is less likely to have been treated. The conventional stuff from a regular grocery store bin is fighting against you from the start. I did not know that going in. Those are the three that failed. Here is what I want you to take from that. The failures were not random. Each one had a specific reason, a specific thing the internet tutorials glossed over or left out entirely. Once you understand the reason, the failure makes complete sense. Avocado is a years-long houseplant project dressed up as a kitchen experiment. Bell pepper needs infrastructure most home kitchens do not have. Grocery store ginger is often chemically inhibited. The tutorials filmed with farmers market ginger do not tell you that. They either do not know or do not think it matters. It matters. Knowing why something fails is as useful as knowing why something succeeds. Anyone who only shows you the wins is only showing you half the picture. Here is where it all comes together. 7 vegetables, 4 that worked, 3 that failed. And the difference between the two groups is not luck. It is not a green thumb. And it is not some special skill that certain people are born with and others are not. The difference is biology. The vegetables that worked are the ones that are biologically designed to regrow from the part you throw away. Green onions grow from their root ends because that is how they survive in the ground. Celery and romaine hold their growth point in the base of the plant. Garlic cloves are individually complete units designed by nature to sit in the ground and become a new plant. The biology is already there. You are not making something happen. You are just not stopping something that wants to happen on its own. The vegetables that failed are the ones where the biology works against the kitchen. Avocado pits are enormous and full of energy, but they are programmed for a tropical growing season that your windowsill cannot replicate. Bell pepper seeds need heat and light and time that a countertop cannot reliably provide. Grocery store ginger has been chemically told to stay dormant. A glass of tap water is not enough to argue with that.
It's not magic. It's biology. And you can do it too.
Once you understand that, the whole project stops feeling like a gamble and starts feeling like a system. You are not hoping. You are reading the biology of the plant and making a decision based on what you see. That is a different thing entirely. Here is the honest math. A bunch of green onions costs about $1 at most grocery stores in this country. If you regrow 3 harvests from the roots before the plant weakens, which is completely realistic based on what I did, you have effectively bought 4 bunches for the price of 1. Do that every week for a month and you have saved $3. It sounds small, but a family that cooks regularly is buying green onions, celery, romaine, and garlic every single week of the year. Run those numbers across 4 vegetables for 12 months, and you are looking at real money sitting in your trash can every Tuesday evening. Money you already spent at the register. Money you are throwing away without looking at it. And beyond the money, there is something else that is harder to put a number on. There is something that happens when you cut fresh green onion shoots off a root that is sitting in a glass on your windowsill and put them directly into your eggs on a Sunday morning. Something shifts. The distance between you and your food gets smaller. You started to understand, in a small but real way, that food is not a product that appears on a shelf. It is a living thing with a biology and a logic and a set of conditions under which it thrives. Learning to read that biology, even at the small scale of a mason jar on a kitchen counter, changes how you look at a grocery store. You start seeing the produce section differently. You start picking up a bunch of celery and thinking about the base before you think about the stalks. That is how the knowledge comes back. Not all at once. Not from a single video, but one glass of water on a windowsill. One root that surprises you by growing back. One morning where you cut something fresh that you grew yourself from something you were about to throw away. So, here is what I want you to do this week. Not all 7, just one. Go to your kitchen right now and look at what you have. If there's a bunch of green onions in your refrigerator, cut off the tops for whatever you are cooking tonight. Put the white root ends in a glass of water on your windowsill before you go to bed.
Try it tonight. You'll be amazed by what grows back.
That is the whole task. 1 glass of water, 1 windowsill. Check it in the morning. Check it again in 2 days. By day 4, you are going to have something to show your kids or your partner or just yourself. It is going to feel better than it has any right to feel for something that cost you nothing and took 30 seconds. If you try it this week, tell me in the comments which vegetable you started with and how long it took before you saw the first new growth. And if you have tried regrowing something from the grocery store before, share it. Something that worked or something that failed completely. The specific details are exactly the kind of information that gets lost when nobody writes it down. Which vegetable, which method, which week it gave up, or which week it surprised you. I read every single one. Next time, since we have been talking about getting more out of the food you already bought and brought home, I am going to show you what to do with the vegetables that are about to go bad before you get to them. The half bunch of cilantro going yellow at the back of the drawer. The zucchini that is starting to soften. The tomatoes that are one day past their best. There is an old and simple set of habits for turning that food into something instead of throwing it into the trash. And it is the natural next step after today. Until then, put your green onion roots in a glass of water. Check them in the morning. And remember that the thing you were about to throw away was already trying to grow back. You just have to let it.